You will have every stipend position there is.
Huh?
That'll be the kind of vibe you can start to.
You ready?
Mhm.
Okay.
Now we're getting there.
Not quite. Okay.
Hmm?
You're pretty far back. I think it's all useful.
Good, Bonnie, I think we're ready.
Okay, call the meeting to order. It's 6:34. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone for public forum?
No.
Okay, I need a motion for the acceptance of the agenda. Ron, second. Joe, any questions? All in favor? Thank you. And the final budget presentation. Dr. Howard and Sybil will give to us.
Is there anyone want to cover first or?
No.
Okay, so just to recap, you can go ahead and scroll down what I've talked with, I emailed this to you as well as talked with some board members this week about it and answered some questions, but the New York State budget was passed over the weekend, and the 3% increase to foundation aid was preserved in the legislative version, but the big surprise was this huge increase to pre-K funds that we received. This number has been frozen as long as I can remember at $97,200, which funds approximately one teacher in our pre-K program. We have 2 to 3 sections on any given year. We are required to give 10% of our funds to a cooperating organization. So for us, that is Head Start, and they rent a room in the building. And then they also have the site at the Philmont location and run a classroom there, which they are also having staffing problems and they're having problems with enrollment. So we've been working with them on that, but they get about $9,700 of that funding to run their program. And then we used the rest of it to fund probably about 90% of one of our teachers, and then general funds the other portion. So what I did do though is I backed it out of the total state aid and put it down here because it is functioning more like a grant. And I have been advised that there may be some more rules associated with this increased level of funding, but no one has been able to unpack that yet. It has not been distributed. So at first, and I've just been going back and forth every day since last week on different options and ways to try and give us all something that we're really looking for out of this budget and out of this tax levy scenario for next year. But one of the things that we have talked about this season is preserving a section of pre-K in the event that we have enough space to invite children of staff who are non-residents into the pre-K program. So we can only do that according to the current rules if we're not using UPK funding for those classrooms. So I decided to leave funding for one section of pre-K in the general fund in case we're still allowed to do that. So that is one change that I made in the last couple of days. But otherwise, this increase by itself will give Head Start their 10%, and or any organization that we partner with, and we'll fund, just about our entire pre-K program.
So that is a benefit, again, to our employees that work here, that do not live in the district. And right now, I think we have a possibility for 2 or 3 kids to take advantage of that. Of course, it's up to the parents, but it's a nice little extra thing that we can do that really doesn't affect us that much money-wise or staffing-wise.
Do the pre-K sections have aides in them or not? Is it now, that'll cover aides also?
Yeah, it will, yes.
And we don't know why,
No, we've been asking.
and so
So-
next year this could go away, we could go back to the 97,000.
Yes.
So I don't think it is, but the way they have
I know.
written these pre-K grants, if you will, is that it's always been for startup. And Deconic Hills has had the foresight, going back a few years, to do a full day program and to make the district and board made a commitment to fund this because we saw the need for it. And it was almost as if we were punished because we started this ahead of time before everybody else did. So now maybe they're feeling a little guilty, they're starting to catch up and say, hey, these school districts have been doing it for a while, but we got no notification this was happening.
How many other schools in Columbia County have
Government and
full
guild.
day pre-K?
You know, that's a good question. Some have half-day programs, but I don't know the answer to that.
And I do know that some of the schools that started programs with funding like this over the last several years, they are in a financial position where if that money goes away, the program goes away. So, you know, we are lucky we've made a commitment to this program regardless of that additional funding that we get from the state. So, you know, pre-K is important and we value it and it will be preserved. So
What's the plan? We start with the three sections,
Correct,
okay? And we offer it to the employees
correct.
and we get at a limit.
Well,
Then we have 2 or 3 that move into the area afterwards.
Well, that's the catch, and that we would have to have, well, we're set up right now, I believe, for 54 kids. Right now, we have 41. So we've got a little cushion here, but district residents do have priority over non-district residents. Now, in not in the past 3 or 4 years, but a year before that, we have had waiting lists for pre-K. And a kid would move out of the district and then a slot would open up and we'd be able to pull in another person. But you're right, those kids would automatically go to like the bottom of the list.
Is that the program you had a lottery for?
Yes, yes.
So you had,
We still call it a lottery, it's just everybody gets it.
Or, everybody gets it, so, but just so that's out there, but what about if, let's say it's full, and we have 3 teachers that have put their kids in there, and then somebody in district comes in?
Yeah, that's what I think Bill is saying.
Yeah.
That person then might be asked to leave. Now, I would hope as a district that we might examine the option to put another teacher on and make a 4th section of the pre-K.
And right now, our numbers are forecasted that we could have 2 fully staffed and full 2 sections, but we're planning for 3. The numbers are a little low for 3 right now, but we're trying to create that buffer. In case, you know, because usually we do get a few more kids or, you know, if we open it up to staff, but the other inquiry I've made is whether or not you have to take action as a board to authorize us to offer it to non-residents. So that more of that information will be coming.
and this includes everything for the program, the food, the transportation, everything for the kids.
So it's taken basically at this point 2 full classrooms out of our monetary budget. It really is a special gift.
And if it did go away, I know that, you know, you would not blink at
Right.
putting that money right back into the general fund.
Right.
So, you know, we will deal with that if it happens. We've had a couple of other changes over the course of the last week. You can go to the next slide. I was able to do a little bit better on the final budget number. And these are some of the things that we were dealing with over the course of the last week. So we added that additional CSE student placement that happened actually the night that we met. That's $75,000. All of the bargaining units adopted the prudent RX policy.
So I would like to thank everyone,
Yeah.
Chris Costa, Sandra Bing, part of the administrative unit, middle management, senior management, everyone that worked together and saw the value in adopting this prudent RX. It's really a win-win situation for everyone involved.
It does.
And you don't,
It is, yeah.
and I think I said in an email to Chris and some others that you don't get an opportunity to do a win-win very often. And this is a fantastic one.
So
So-
it definitely saves us some money, but it saves the employees money as well. So that is the way it's working.
We're getting emails from members of the trust, the healthcare trust, for Questar, and there are, all the other school districts are looking at this right now.
So rather than facing that 56% final increase on the RX side, we're looking at approximately a 40.5% final increase. So Ashley worked the last week to get those numbers updated. It represents about a $137,000 savings directly to us. Remember, we're just a portion of that 40%. So that's been implemented into the budget. And then we did make some increases to fuel based on the market. So I just wanted to refresh your memory about, where we were with prices and where we've come and where we're budgeting for next year in terms of oil for the campus, propane, gas and diesel for transportation. Nick, would you mind just talking a little bit about the summer boiler and propane?
Sure. In the last capital project, we put the summer boiler in, and that's a dual fuel boiler. So it'll run off of either oil or propane. With the prices of oil going up, I'd like to run it off of propane some more. So basically what I did was I took what we budgeted for this year and we doubled it for next year so that we can use propane more for that boiler, and hopefully that'll save us money down the line and save us some money on the fuel.
We also didn't have as much online time, right, with the AC, or that came on late.
The boiler
Right.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, it came on late in the season,
We didn't use it
the
through.
shoulder season.
Full season, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So we did plan for the, we just don't know what's going to happen with fuel, but it continues to go up, so.
So is this a good time to mention that in the governor's budget that they're asking school districts to plan for electric vehicles for the next 5 years?
I told you that in the.
So, just so that we're aware, when we come talk about a building project in another year or two, this is something that we're going to, might be forced to consider. And they tell me that there's going to be incentives out there and there's going to be money available to move in this direction. One of the, we really haven't because of cost benefit analysis at this point, but it's possible that may be changing.
That's not official, right? It's not like we haven't made a mandate about.
Yeah, I think there's a vote about it.
It was in the voted on budget.
Well, the biggest concern is not the EV vehicle itself, it's when it's at the end of life, who are we gonna have to pay to take the batteries? That's
So,
what
I don't-
we're gonna have to find
I
out.
don't
I would
think-
wanna know that before we decide anything, because you can't take a Prius up to Port Albany for junk if it has a battery in it, they don't want it.
So there's a lot of those questions unanswered, Joe, and we have not been privy to the whole plan yet. But it does seem as if a lot of people were caught a little off guard by this. And, let's
I
hope.
think you should be forced to do it, so that's crazy.
Well, I don't know all the ins and outs. All I know is kind of what's been reported. As people really get into the nitty gritty in the governor's budget.
I would be more concerned about just the maneuverability of these vehicles, the heaviness of these vehicles, our back roads, and
They are heavier.
they're heavier, they don't apparently move as well in rural communities with hills and curves and.
Pony motors for heat. I mean, we're gonna have all kinds of extra expenses that it's gonna look nice because they gave us a grant to get an electric bus. But then we have to have an exotic motor to make heat from diesel fuel anyway. It's a moot point.
So they tell me that we're gonna have some sort of plan, they're looking at it, and I mean, we'll just see what happens.
And just scroll down a little bit more. I did get some final numbers from the architect regarding our small capital project for the replacement of the feature field lights and the replacement of the doors at the main entrances for each building. We did need to add some money for contingency and incidental costs associated with that project. So go to the next slide, and we are about about $184,000 less than we were last week. And can you scroll down just a little bit more? Yeah. And I also prepared the exercise that we do every year, where we look at what the implications of tax levy at different levels might look like. So I have that for you. So nothing has changed about the levels of the tax cap. So we have the 0.92, the 2.61, the 4.13 is the max with the maximum amount of carryover use. And I just added in 3.
Yeah, okay.
Just as another example for us to look at. But, and again, I've been really working to try and give everybody something that they can walk away from this year and feel really good about. Because every year brings us a unique set of circumstances, and this year is no different. But, you know, we've done a good job, I think, of keeping the budget to budget increase below 2%. But you're going to see some options, A, B, and C on the next slide, where we can do a couple of different things with regard to tax levy levels and use of savings and reserves. But the biggest thing that I want to point out is that we do have some carryover preserved at these 2 levels. So at 0.92%, even with using the money from the capital project that's left over this year, that one-shot revenue, we would preserve just about the same level of carryover that we had coming into this year for next year. Okay. And at 2.61, we would preserve just about $10,000 less than that. Okay, so just keep that in mind, because I know a big concern was leaving this on the table in the sense that we could have taxed last year and we did not. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So these are the A, B, C options that I prepared for you. And what option A does is accepts the 0.92% increase, uses the surplus capital project funds towards debt service costs, that $330,000. One-shot revenue, we'll use it this year, it'll be gone. It's what's left over from the capital project. Then the mini capital project this year, feature field lights and front doors, main doors, will be funded by appropriated fund, unreserved fund balance. Okay, we'll appropriate it to pay for that. So no tax impact for that. So you do increase your levying ability a little bit, but still use savings and still give back to the taxpayers. And that projected budget includes all the budget initiatives. So in this scenario, we'd be short by about $30,000. We'll just absorb that with fund balance. Okay, option B says that we will not use the surplus funds from the capital project this year anyway. And we'll go to the 2.61% increase. Still pay for the capital project out of fund balance because we did say all along that that was going to be a no tax impact project. We were going to use savings for that. And that is how the resolution reads, but we could change it tonight if we want to. And that has us still really getting a little more than we need under option B. Option C uses the 3% assumption, does not use any of the surplus capital project funds, and also would need to reduce what we use to pay for the capital projects. So that would make it a somewhat of a tax impact project. So let's talk about it.
So just looking at this, I think I would favor the 2.61 increase because it does not have a wouldn't have the tax impact on the community. And also, if you start just semantically saying 3 as opposed to the 2.61, if it's not going to make that much of a difference, the 2 starting with the number 2 sounds better. So I would favor that.
So originally, we were talking about paying for the buses with savings. So all 3 of these options assume that we will use some tax levy dollars to pay for the buses. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Okay, for many years, you know, it's still not debt. We're not assuming any more debt to buy those buses. So
It does preserve the 2.61, that $330,000 that we did not use in that capital project.
Mm.
She said to remember that. So that can be used next year in some form.
That's 330.
Yes,
but at this level and at both of these levels, you'll preserve carryover walking into next year, $10,000 more here than here.
I feel like we should pay off the debt. And I just, in good conscience, I don't feel like we can ask the taxpayers for money that we don't need.
And you
So
said
when
you
you
pulled
put
the 200,000 out of the
I
head
go
start,
with
out of the
option
budget.
A, but maybe a little above.
If that was in it, would change the numbers drastically too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had,
I understand you think we might get it next year, but we might not get something else next year
right,
too.
exactly. I mean, that's always a,
You know, I feel the same with the 292. I mean, the 92. I feel the same way. I think. I mean, 330,000. We could save it to next year. And then we'll be at the same point again. I feel right too.
Bill? Alicia, where are you guys? Yes, you.
Ron's number's not up there.
Yeah, really.
It's option D.
My school just
it's on
hears
there.
it
It's
now.
on there.
For me, I'll go. For me, I also would like to use that 330,000 to pay the debt service, because I think that's the right thing to do. I'm just not at a 0.92. I mean, if we could go a little over that, because with the 0.92, we still you know, we're,
30,000.
Right. so is there like an option like, I don't know, 1.25? That's what I was thinking, 1.25, like,
I'd be having 125.
but I do believe we should use the 330,000 this year. So although I didn't pick one of these options, I'm in between.
So how difficult is it to run some numbers?
It's not hard. It's not, and I'm not worried about this either, you know, being a little short here. I mean, again, this assumes that we spend every dollar of our budget, that we would be $30,000 short. You know, we don't spend every single dollar every year, so.
Educated guess,
that may not-
1.25, where would that 30,000 go?
I can just go in my office really quick and take a look.
So why don't you, can you do that,
So,
please?
1.25.
Yeah, just,
Let's try that
just see what the,
See what that
number
gets.
is. And,
Alicia, where are you? Well, we'll talk some more while you're doing
Well, I
that.
think I said last time that I felt like 330 should be used this year. I can't really say why it shouldn't. But obviously it would be nice not to be 30,000 short. So I guess we should just see what comes up with the 1.25.
And Bill, what did you say? Where were you?
I want to see what the 1.25 looks like.
And Ron, where are you?
Not at 125.
So
So,
it'd be closer to the 220.
so are you okay with not using the 330 to pay off the debt service? I mean, is that what you're
We
saying?
use it
or-
next year. I don't know what the thing is, what, 330.
I guess it's because we have it sitting
And
there.
we're losing the other money from the year last year, so don't forget
You
that.
said we're not losing that much, difference of 10,000.
No, that's just because
The carryover, right?
the carryover from last year, that goes away.
She said we're using it on each one of them, too. The difference between it is
No, no, no.
10,000.
I don't think that's what you're talking about.
She said, yes, she said it was 383 or
Well, that's
392.
what's coming back. I don't think that's what.
No,
you're talking about.
yeah, he's right. So, you know,
so this is,
Right there, what is that?
these are the limits. So 0.92% of increase, you're preserving
10,000. That's it.
You're
393.
creating no carryover.
right, that's the.
what it
Yes.
is.
It's
Right.
new carryover.
That
The
would be
old
the new
carryover, the
carryover.
343,000,
Yes,
that goes goodbye.
Correct.
That's just up in smoke.
So my only concern is this, because I mean, the reason why we have a 4.13 tax levy with that carryover is because we did zero last year. That's why we have that high of a number for what we are allowed by law to tax. That's why we have that 4.13, is for that reason. So my fear is if we keep going too low, that last option, the allowable by law, is going to keep going up.
Right.
And in that sense,
Right.
Ron's right in that. It's just, but I can't get, I mean, I can't get to 4%. I just can't do that. Me personally, I just can't. And I think we should use the debt, you know, the 330 to pay off the debt service, because why let it sit there? I mean, and then we're asking the taxpayers to, you know, like,
And somebody's.
I have a-
paying
like,
double
I
the price
have a
of gas
problem with
for
that.
work.
Okay, while we wait, can we take a quick look at the chart?
okay, yeah, let's
compare?
look at the chart.
And
Yeah,
because,
how much it is.
because when you know, you can talk for somebody just all day.
Right.
And when you get down to brass tacks, you know, what is the dollar amount that we're talking here?
$127,
and like-
$140.
Like every year, you know, we give you 3 values of an assessed home, the potential for tax, well, the taxes paid in 2021, 22, the amount due with a 0%, which should all remain the same, and then the increase would be in those areas. So if you look at 1.25, which would fall between, you know, 0.92 and the 2.61,
What are you looking at?
you know, you're probably looking at, what do you think, Ron? You're the, you're our accountant.
$25 if it's for 100,000,
$25 maybe? And
$100,000.
so, So, you know, I don't think you're not talking a lot of money.
But my thing is that how many of the taxpayers actually have homes that are between
$100,000.
100 and 300,000?
Well,
Not a lot. not
so
anymore.
go to the max, go to 300,000. And, you know, you can get an idea a little bit more then.
Yeah, but when
of
you're,
what
I'm
that
talking
percentage
like
would be.
a million. A lot of
Right.
these taxpayers have homes that are above $500,000, so I feel like.
So they can
I-
afford it.
And that's what I would say, that,
I know.
you know,
I
so
know, I
they
know.
don't deserve money, go ahead.
No, that's a valid point. That's certainly a
Well,
valid
I'm
point.
just saying,
No,
you know,
it's true.
to go to dinner at, I don't know,
Right,
Swiss Foods or,
bottle of wine, and there you go, I mean.
I don't know. I don't know if they worry about those types of things that much at that level.
True.
So civil,
That's what
you have some,
So 1.25 would be too much. We have a surplus of $52,000, but 1% would make us short by $10,000.
When you say too much, what do you mean?
So,
We don't need it. We don't, under the option A plan, using
330, the
the,
330 would go away.
no, using the 330,
Using the 330.
we don't need 1.25. One would be enough.
Oh, 1%.
that 30,000 would be zero.
Yes.
But it wouldn't give us anything to play with, any extra to play with, it would just be.
Well, we never really have any extra to play with.
We're not supposed to. We plan for what we.
You know, if, for example, you know, we don't spend as much on fuel as we thought we would, we use that for laptops, for
So
example.
what if we have to spend more for fuel than we thought?
That's why we increased the budget a
which
little
is a
bit.
possibility for sure. I mean, even the prices that you have for gas, those are pretty,
Yeah, and,
I think
and,
we go way above
and we
that.
had fund balance too. I mean, you know, just like the rainy day we're experiencing with the pharmacy reserve, you know, we are able to write that check because we have that savings. And hopefully the prudent RX policy will put us in a position where we won't have that same debt again next year because we'll be able to stabilize costs throughout the year.
With 1%.
So you're saying 1.25 is a little more than what we would need?
Keeping all the other items the same in option A, yes.
And it would be 0.
Okay with that.
1.
And it still preserves the carryover of the 393.
125.
She said no.
No, just one.
She said it don't work.
So
125 doesn't work, right?
It's too much.
Yeah, for some reason 125 don't work.
Well,
She's saying
But-
more.
2.61 is too much, 3% is too much, 4.13 is too much.
And 125 don't work. That's why I'm confused.
Under option A.
So it's the condition.
Oh, under
of the
action
option.
A, oh, right, okay, I got you, all right, got you.
Go back to the other. Yeah.
All right, I
So
got
the
you,
other
because we're
one,
using the 330,000, okay.
So the only reason we can get to 261 on option B
I
is
see.
because we take this
Put
out.
that out.
I see,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
And it sounds like most of you want to keep this in. So,
I just
330
think
and
by
Yeah.
not
Pay it
using
off.
it, I just think optically, I think we need to use it,
I'm sorry? What was it?
just
Right.
optically.
I'm thinking the same way.
Listen, you guys, I will tell you this. This man has been spouting stuff for years. And we debate a lot. And he always ends up being right. And I will tell you all, he will end up being right in this case. I'm just telling you. That's all I got, that's all I got to say. He will end up being right.
My theory is when it gets really
So,
bad and there's no
what
more
would you
money,
have gone with?
the state's gonna have to kick in. When all the money's run out and anything, it's just like if you get $500 a month social security and you go to the fireman's home, they take care of you. If you get $2,000 a month of social security, you go to the fireman's home, they take care of you. When money's gone for everybody, the state's gonna have to do something.
Hmm?
So by us keep raising and raising the levies, eventually, the D-Day is gonna come anyway. So if it comes 2 years earlier, 2 years earlier. Same thing, I have the same opinion on global warming, it's coming, the Earth's gonna burn up. Okay, it's the same theory.
Glad we could tie that all in. Maybe I'm a little concerned.
It's the same thing. You gotta figure it out, okay?
Well, we already put air conditioning in the building. We're so bad.
So Ron, what was your answer?
I've always been consistent with this. In 15 years, I've been consistent with this. You take what you can get, because somewhere down the line, you're gonna need this money. We just spent whatever, 800, I don't know, whatever it is for insurance, these things come up. You think we have 7, 8, whatever the number is, that might be fine if you're home, yeah, that's like a Richmond, I'm in Florida. But the reality is, for a school district, that burns up like this. And let me tell you something, 10 years from now, hopefully everybody's retired and living a good life, but somebody's gonna have to pay the bill. And that's what I'm concerned about. That's all I'm concerned about. It's got nothing to do with kids today. We're gonna take care of the kids. We have the money to take care of kids today. But what's gonna happen 10 years from now, 15 years from now? That's what I worry about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should just be concerned with what's happening in front of my nose, but I worry about what's happening 100 yards down the road. That's all I'm saying.
And based on what we choose, it determines what our number is next year. So it's always a continuous rolling.
Lose.
But more
Well, you
than
do
likely, we're not
0%.
gonna go to the 4%.
Hopefully. You never know what New York State does. I mean, look, for instance, the one year that we had to replace the lead faucets, Nick, right? Like, they just mandated, replace all the faucets in this building. Oh, but we're not giving you the money for it. Some school districts, did they have the money for it?
And we were defrauded by having lead ones, because we weren't supposed to have lead ones, so that's
I'm
where
just
my
saying
problem.
that.
So what
Those
is
are
5
things that
years
come
down
up.
the road, like they
Think
say,
about it.
you're gonna
We're
have
supposed to
to
have
get electric buses
The whole
at
class, yeah.
whatever.
That's very good, valid point there. That's exactly it.
We're paying for buses by cash.
We have,
Correct.
yes.
I mean, okay, now we're not gonna be paying by cash sometime in the future, then what we're gonna talk about? Then we're gonna talk about what our interest rate hike are gonna be, they're gonna be double digits. That's what's gonna happen. That's why I say pay a little now, save it for the future, and go as long as you can. Because the reality is, at some point, like Joe says, at some point, the road is gonna hit the road. What question is it gonna be? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 20 years from now? I'd rather be as far away as possible. That's my philosophy on it.
So your number is the 3 is the highest one?
Listen, I'll support whatever you guys want, because I'm just one of, 7 now, it used to be 9, now we're down to 7. I feel like I wish I was 6 right now. I feel like I'm the chief that stands alone on this. I've been saying this for years. I don't know what to say. This is not about now. This is about down the road, about the Conic Hills 0.20, 2.0, whatever you want to call it. That's all. You want to have all these buses, you want to have all these things, you're gonna have to pay for it. Somebody's gonna have to pay for it. So you want to have 3%, 2.61, whatever number you pick, or you want to have 15, 20% because we need this stuff. And because also we can't afford programs. We
We'll
can't
have to
afford
cut.
schools. We won't have to cut. That's my point. So, you know, I'm looking the long game. That's all. That's it.
What's the total we have in the rainy day funds and surplus? What's the total? Are we still up there or?
We are, we have, $8.5 million in unreserved fund balance.
And unreserved, but we have other ones in reserve
Yes.
that's accounted for. Well, all total between the ones we have in the funds and unaccounted, is how much?
Probably close to 18 million.
I drew the short straw on that one, okay?
So it's in unreserved, they're not reserved funds, the $8.5 million.
Yes, that is what this money would be coming out of, right here.
But by appropriating, we're
Right.
saying that we would use that.
We're using it for a particular purpose.
Right.
And in the.
And that would leave us with minus whatever that is.
Right, and the
Which is not that much.
proposition for that project declares that it is being funded through savings and not the tax levy.
So after that, it would leave us with the 7,900, thousand, whatever.
Right.
7 million.
And then
Still,
and we have to close the
in
books
an,
this year, so,
in an open field.
yes.
Well, would we want to put any of that into another?
We are fully funded in our reserves.
We could see what other reserves are available to us, but we do have a good amount, and a good number of them.
Would it pay for us to look at that?
But it's still a reserve that we have. You know, I mean, it's still.
Well, you need a reason,
Right,
and to do that in some sort of anticipated need.
right.
So,
We did start the insurance liability reserve this year because of those claims that we had outstanding, so we did.
I'm just saying that because that's what we did in Copacan town, because we had also a lot of money, and we're very fortunate, at least in Copacan here in this district, to be in that position. But we were advised to kind of break
And
that up.
the difference between a municipality and a school district is that a municipality can budget for fund balance, can budget to tax to build fund balance. School districts cannot.
Mm. Thank
but
you.
with that said, we typically don't spend everything we budget for. Things happen.
Right,
I can tell you that there are some other projects around here that still need to be taken care of in the near future. That are going to be very expensive.
Mhm.
And the board will have to make a decision whether we use another capital project or we pay cash for it.
And we have two bargaining units that we're bargaining with, that's not in here, correct? You're not budgeted for, like, the contract.
That's correct.
So any decision that comes from those two bargaining units will come out of
Fund balance.
our fund balance.
Or surplus funds within the current year.
Right.
Essentially.
Was torn. So, has everyone got where they are?
We decide one is an option, or
Well, it's saying we can't do 1.25 if we want to use $330,000, so that's,
there's only one.
And what's your rationale for wanting to spend that down? Just again,
So the 330,
yeah, 330.
I mean, we have to pay it off at some point, so, we have the money, do it now.
That is the only lawful purpose to use those funds for.
and what's the benefit of waiting till next year? We'll earn money on it, obviously.
Interest is pretty minimal right now, but I guess really the only benefit is that we're taking to this level in terms of the tax levy. But do you think we'd be in the same, having the same conversation next year
We will. I can guarantee you we will be.
about
That's
that?
why I'm torn at
About
this
that
one.
money.
That's why I'm really torn at this,
Yeah.
because we will be,
And I
we
struggle with it,
exactly will be
really
having
bad.
the same conversation. And Ron will be going, I won't even be able to look at him. I'll be like this. I can't.
And anything can change between now and then.
And New York State always pulls some stupid stuff, and we'll have a new.
My state?
We'll have a new person in office, probably, or whatever, so things are going to change, trust me. No, it won't be good if the other side gets in, just so you know,
Well,
just so you know.
I don't know, the lieutenant governor was just
All
arrested.
right,
Yeah, another strike we have to defeat.
so where are we?
I'm with one.
Okay. I think I'm going with 2 now, I'll change my mind,
I'm sticking with my 2.61.
I'm back there. Terry, that's where you are?
Yep, that's what I said.
Joe,
1,
Bill,
4.
Ron,
That's all right, it's all good, that's what you have democracy for. I would go for a higher number, but that's all right, doesn't matter.
So could you just, what is the salary?
Well,
What
which
is
one?
your number?
Not me.
Well, what was your choice? You're the only one I don't have a choice.
They don't have it on the chart, but I'll leave it 2.61 at least, I mean, that's.
So it's even 2,613 and 3.92.
So who?
There's seven of us
It's
here.
one, there's 4 ones.
Oh, Alicia, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Alicia.
4 ones.
Yes, 4 ones, I'm sorry.
It's like my mouth goes hungry again. That's the way it is.
So it looks like, we'll do that, and, we got film.
I just want to make sure
So
we're
you know,
clear about this.
I'm
We
not
lost
gonna
the
go
carryover
sing
from
about
last
this
year.
tonight. This is gonna bother me.
Okay, I just want to make sure we lost that 340,000 last year because we did 0%. That's gone. So I just want to make sure we understand that.
I trust Sybil. I mean, clearly Sybil's amazing with numbers, so I trust.
I am privileged, but that's got nothing to.
I don't
Yeah.
know,
Well,
Well, we
Has
okay.
nothing to do
I
with
just-
trust.
and any of these options would be okay, but you all have to feel comfortable, with what you choose.
And how do you
as
ask
a board.
taxpayers for money that we don't
And we're-
need?
Because you present to them as what I've been saying. That
But
we're doing
everything
this
is
for
so
our
over-
kids, our community down the road.
Right. Yeah, but if you're talking here, the difference between like $20 or $25 or whatever for the year, it's not,
It's not,
It's-
it's not, on a $300,000, it's.
what is it?
$60.
But that's not the majority.
It's what?
20, 60, it's not 20, but that's not the point either.
It's 60 for
But
the
we're
year.
playing with 20, 60, or 90. All the numbers are, everybody thinks $90. Some people, $90 is a lot. Some people, $20 is a lot. Like I said,
For
there's
the
people
year.
paying double to get
For
to
the
work
year.
with gas right now.
For the year.
We can't be held
Right, but
accountable.
people are gonna be,
for the
there's
inflation
people paying
going right now.
double.
I
to get whatever
understand
the
that
gas budget was.
completely.
If it was a $2,000 a year, the gas
Think
budget
about what
was-
people's houses are assessed at.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When I
300
joined
is
this
below
board,
average.
when I joined this board, what did I say to you? What was the first thing? The rule, never raise taxes,
Mhm.
okay?
We're raising it.
Here we are, 3 years later, and I totally flipped my opinion.
Well, over the
And
years,
I
I've
agree with,
been
and
back
I
and
agree
forth.
with Ron.
And right now, I don't think.
I
it's
agree
good.
with Ron.
So we have the 0.92.
The one.
Oh,
Ron,
one we went with. Oh, okay.
Don't deny me that 0.08.
Yeah.
I know.
Ron, really, Ron?
You're gonna leave me dry at that point.
Okay. You want your paper back? Let me just write it down.
can, I think
It's a
he
dog.
can.
No, both, my kids were so lucky not to get those. They were lucky. They got them really.
All right. That's, are you done with your report?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Sybil.
Thank you.
All
Thank you so much,
right.
Sybil.
Oh, my. All right, we have no other reports at this time, unless you two want to add lib or something. You good? All right. No old business at this time, new business. Approval of the 2022, 2023 tax levy at 1% for a total levy of $25,449,586. Can I have a motion, please? Bill, second. Joe, any questions? All in favor?
You put reluctantly into.
Yeah, that's what it is. All right, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Conoco Central School District that at a meeting of the qualified voters, school district, the following propositions will be placed before the voters at the May 17, 2022 vote and budget election. I'm not going to read all those, but number 2 will be $39,684,157. Can I have a motion, please? Joe, second. Heidi, any questions? All in favor? Okay. All right. So we have anybody for public forum after that?
No.
Okay, any additional items to discuss?
The only thing that I would like to get the board thinking about is the process by which we would like to hire a principal. Mr. Burmaster has been approved by the Houston Valley Board of Education for their superintendent. We wish him well, thank him for his hard work and everything he's contributed to the Conic Hill Central School District. I will be emailing the board some suggestions on how we will move forward with this. And if anyone has any input or comments, please feel free to get a hold of me as we make a plan to prepare for the 22-23 school year.
Yeah, wish Jim well. I'm sure we'll see him up there. Anybody else got any additional items to discuss?
I just wanted to ask a question. Somebody approached me today about giving a $500 scholarship to a graduating senior and
Yes.
what, how to proceed with that. It was a group in Columbia County.
They can get a hold of us and we will likely point them in the direction of Dollars for Scholars.
Oh, okay.
And with a former board member, Mr. Bruce Myers, I think Bruce still running it. And he probably would be the direction we point them in.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
So there's just one thing I want to say, before this meeting tonight, we went to an FFA presentation and I was so impressed by, first of all, the teacher. She was amazing. I can't believe she does all those different things. And the other thing is some of the kids that we met, the programs and all of the different types of classes, teaches those students so many different things. It teaches them, most important were the life skills. What was it? I forgot his name. I mean, he was amazing with his public speaking. It's just amazing. And so I really think that that's a really great avenue for kids learning to, just to get out. I mean, the one girl, Corinne, just kept saying it, she went to Indiana and she was like, that was the best experience of my life. And it's just like, it's just so great. I mean, who knows if she would ever get out of Columbia County? And it was just such a great opportunity for her. So thank you for the presentation. It was absolutely great.
You're welcome.
And you're right, some of those students that were taking in a couple weeks to state convention will never stay in a hotel room. They are so excited to be in a hotel room with
Absolutely.
two double beds
So
and they're
amazing.
sharing, and they only live here. They're just so thrilled to be.
They know there's another world out there.
And we did we made up 2 bud bases for the 2 board members that didn't get to make them, so they're there for it.
Oh, now you get to take one home to your wife.
And I'm sorry to
Text me when the next one is. Maybe I will do that.
Have you seen these kids shooting, even my.
I can't this weekend,
Blown away
because
by
I
my
just
son.
got too much going
He's
on.
never-
Yeah.
He's never shot that before. And the first day
It's
was out there, I was
really
like,
hard.
I was
That's not
amazed.
an easy thing to
All right,
do.
you text me when the next one is. Not this weekend, too much going on, but definitely after that. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn, or wait, we gotta go executive session, right?
I think that we're good for now.
Okay, so a motion to adjourn the meeting. Bill, Terry,
I'm gonna take it.
all in favor? All in favor? All in favor? I'm thinking of Terry. Thank you, Terry. Mary Lynn?
If you don't want it,
All right.
but I don't need that. You want it.
All right, thank you everyone for coming.
Nick, why don't you take this?
Okay.